So Tamara, this is your feedback for assignment 3C. This is 3C part 2, just so be aware of your kind of labelling there. Last week's was 3C part 1. So just looking through, I can see that you've got examples for each one. That's good, so that would potentially qualify you for a merit on there. If we just look through the homework task itself, what we are asking for here is I gave you some of the things on the wheel there and you had notes in the lesson time, and obviously your job was then to apply this to examples using the correct terminology. So the homework post, also you had these videos here that I would refer you to. Task 1, that goes through how you create emotion, plus the notes that you took from the 2 videos that we discussed there and looking at the students' work. So if I go to the homework post that you had for this task, which was set here, 2.1 homework and prep. These are all the ones that you needed to have discussed to cover the sort of range of things. So we've got most of them on there, I think. Track away, low angle, canted. Yeah, missing tilt it seems. I think we're also missing, we got the low, high and the canted. Got zoom in, zoom out. Don't necessarily have the dolly in and dolly out, and we don't have the crash zoom. So they're quite important ones. So I'm not sure why they're not there. But nonetheless, let's see what we can find. So at the beginning, we're talking about really for the higher grades, we need to be giving examples and explaining the purpose of the movement and the purpose of the angle, what it's trying to do in this example. Okay. For the distinction, you'd need to be assessing and comparing how they range, how they differ in their use between hip hop and say rock. The different purposes that they would have in terms of visualizing the example you've picked, or the different purposes they have in trying to create an image. So like a kind of masculine presence, dominant, moving the camera away, versus a kind of live energetic performance that you want to go and pay for a ticket for. So just looking through, here we've talked about how you do it. There you've talked about small and powerless. I think other words might be useful here, like vulnerable, okay, because again you want to be giving me an example now of how they're doing it and why it fits the image of the artist. So for that I wouldn't be able to give you a pass. I would only be able to give you a pass because, as you can see from the descriptors, there are no examples of music videos that you've applied that to show me you understand it. For the arc, you've now given me far more specific detail, and you've talked about the fact that it's either a kind of distortion, or it's also the idea that they are the kind of center of everything. So again in here you've talked about that, and that's definitely a strong merit response for arc. We've talked about track away. Okay, very good, that's interesting. I think you could bring in here about the fact that it's the nature of hip hop to use tracking away shots and to show power and dominance. I think you need a little bit more detail in there if you're going to be able to set up the distinction response later on, where you qualify how this is differently used to, say for example, you probably don't see it much in rock music videos. Okay, you've mentioned low angle here. Again, you've talked about the high image, you've talked about the fact that he's dominant and powerful. Not too much in here about the fact that this is, I presume, a hip hop video, and how this is a convention by using that. So again, you'd need that for the distinction when you're going to come later on to compare them. You've got canted angle here, that's very good, about the instability. Here you've talked about that, that's good, and you've kind of read it in there. Once again, you could bring in the fact that how hip hop uses that, but there's a bit of a lack of looking at genre here. I mean, a rock video would use canted angles an awful lot, particularly on the instrumental sections. We talked about that in terms of the shots down the guitar neck. Zoom in and out, I don't have an example for. Handheld, so I'm going to skip that because you're just telling me how it is. Handheld. So this is interesting. You're telling me here that it is an urban feel. So again, I think go back to the wheel and your notes and think about why we would use a handheld camera in an urban video. We've got this sort of stuff, haven't we, going on where I'm pointing with the mouse. Yeah, we've also got the idea that it involves the audience, puts them there, so you're part of the crew, like all these people watching in the background. So at the moment we're on a merit. There's not really an attempt at the distinction level work, which is a bit disappointing because you are capable of doing that. So I would refer you back to the homework post, particularly down here, where for the distinction you need to talk about how they differ and how they've been used in music videos. And I would also encourage you to put in something about how your video therefore isn't recognisable or is recognisable by its genre based upon your use of camera angles and movements. Thanks very much.